Anyway, without further ado, I'd like to start our first talk. Great to have John Bickerton along from Reading Buses, who's going to talk about the use of technology in the bus industry. Cheers, John.
Good evening, thank you. Who came on a bus? Get in, it's growing. Who's ridden on a bus in the last month? Oh, that's better. Oh, that's good. Who knows who Reading Buses are at all? Okay, invert that. Who doesn't? Who the fuck are you and what are you doing standing in front of me? So Reading Buses runs 192 buses in Reading. We've got a small depot in Newbury, but most of what we operate is in Reading. I have got a slide on this, and I just haven't included it in this pack. We've 165 buses around town. We employ 550 people. We do lots of work of picking people up, moving them around. We cover 5.5 million miles in a year up and down around Reading. We are wholly owned by Reading Borough Council. We're one of, was 11, now 10 council-owned bus companies left in the UK. That has no bearing at all on anything I'm about to tell you, apart from the fact that I really love Reading Borough Council. I've put some slides together. So Simon asked me to come down and talk about innovation. And I think we're doing some. It's certainly exciting for the bus sector. It's probably not very exciting in terms of the wider world of innovation. But the great news is that taking the wider world of excitement and bringing it into buses, you don't have to be that good to be really out there and part of the best. What I can't remember is what order the slides are in, so it's going to be as exciting for you guys as for me. I have got a slide on who we are and what we do. That's everything I just said. We try and pick people up and take them to where they're going. We are not terrible at it. We don't make a great deal of money. We turn over lots of money, but we do not make a great deal. That's not what our shareholder demands of us. Their aims are to move lots of people around Reading, make Reading less congested, make the air quality in Reading better, be really good at what we do, and aggressively grow our passenger numbers. And that last point is really, really important. What can I do to aggressively grow the number of people we carry on a bus? So, clean, tidy vehicles. All of our bus routes are colour-coded, except we ran out of colours and started on animals. That really helps people just understand the bus network. I live near Bristol, and you can get to my house, it's dead simple. 42, 48, 49, 49A, the 52, the 6, and the 7, but do not get on the 7A, it won't take you to my house. Or, blue and purple. And suddenly it makes everything simpler. It's a really, really key part of why we are growing, and we're one of few bus companies that are growing at the moment. We grow 8% a year and have done for 5 years, whereas other bus operators are pretty much flat or declining. In a sector that is struggling to keep up with the fact that people keep buying cars, we're able to retain people. I don't know which of all of these things it is that's keeping them, and I'm not going to stop doing any of them in case it's that. So this is some of our new buses that I'll talk about in a minute, and these are all of our colour-coded buses that you can't see, but I promise they have got lower decks as well. We do a lot of work to try and lead innovation in the bus sector and in transport. Baroness Kramer came down to open our gas compression station and said nice things about us, and we win lots of awards, including UK Bus Operator of the Year 2016, cross our fingers for 2017. But we've won our class in the bus awards. Obviously, everyone's aware of the bus awards. We're not a city operator because Reading is quite bitter about not being a city. We don't operate in the countryside, but we're in that middle bit that they call the Shire. We are not hobbits. And we keep winning that category because I hope we're pretty good at what we do. There are some really good competitors out there in terms of the bus industry, so we would see ourselves as competing for awards with Nottingham, for example, who also colour-code their buses, have Wi-Fi, and do lots and lots of the, call it hygiene factors, but lots of the stuff that makes people think, I don't want to get on a bus because, and then you answer the end of that sentence, and then people hopefully come and get on your bus. Yeah, that's all of that lot. So where have we come from? Now, it looks like the previous slide is gradually creeping down. That bar is going to get further and further down every slide I do. This is what happens when you move PC stuff onto a Mac. So in a minute, you might have to all turn your heads upside down, and we'll turn the projector or do something clever with it. So we, in terms of my involvement with Reading, I've been at Reading Buses now for just over 3 years. One of the first projects that I really got stuck into was some work we did with our university buses. So we had some rather expensive and not particularly reliable hybrid buses that drive up and down to the university campus, and some of the buses go on through and beyond, which meant that out of the university term, those buses sat in our yard and did nothing and just quietly depreciated and cost me money. So we swapped them out and put some older buses in there, which is sound economics, cost less, reduce the cost of the service, we can keep our costs low, which means that our ticket price doesn't need to rise. But people are quite canny, and they spot when you take a brand new bus away from them and give them a 10-year-old vehicle. So we did a refurb on it, and the refurb cost us, they scored, cost us about 15 grand to refurb the vehicle, which is sensible money for a bus company. A brand new bus will be £250,000 for comparison. But with a little bit of extra budget, we put another £7,000 into the bus and said, what can we do? So we've got vinyl with elephants. I don't really understand why there are elephants, but people think it's cool. Bookshelf, tables, lounge area. The tables have got Lego on them. One of the tables got an iPad set into the table. The lounge area's got a jukebox in it you can connect to on Bluetooth and play your music up too loud. The concept really worked. We were lucky to find a vehicle converter who really got what we were trying to do. So when I asked for a bookshelf, I didn't get 3 shelves nailed to the wall of the bus. I got a tree, which doubles as a bookshelf. When I asked for a lounge area, it's in silver snakeskin and green leather. And it works. 18% growth on that corridor. Because people look at the buses and understand what we're trying to do, and they travel more. Whether it's displacing people from foot onto the bus, or whether it means that people are travelling more and we are generating journeys, I don't know, I don't really care. We take an average of £1 a person, so when you take off a single ticket is £2 in Reading, it's the most expensive way to travel. By the time you look at your annual tickets, and people will use annual tickets very heavily, the concessionary pass holders we see about 26p of revenue back from the National Concession Scheme. When you average all that out, it's just above £1, but it makes the maths much easier in my head if I say it's £1. And so that we need more people, we need more pounds. If you're paying more than £2 for a bus journey, buy a season ticket. So we did Claret Spritzer. That was all very exciting, but the university market is different to the bus market. So these guys will travel in groups. They'll board the bus, they're all going to the same place, they're going to town, they're going to go and get pissed, they're going to lectures, whatever. They're interested in getting on board as a group. So we've got booths opposite each other, so you can sit as a 4, as an 8, or the lounge is certified for 12. I haven't been through the CCTV to work out how many people you can get in there, but I'm willing to bet it's more than that. This is not typical bus country where people will wait 1, 2, maybe 3 people at a bus stop. They don't know each other. They certainly don't want to sit next to each other, and they don't want to get on a bus. You'll always go for the double seat, and you generally sit on the aisle side so that nobody can sit there. Except that doesn't work, because then somebody says, can you move? And then you have to sit across, and then it's inevitably a big bloke who then presses you against the window. All of these hygiene factors are the reasons people don't like buses. But I've got to caveat that because I've also got to be able to carry a large number of people. So innovation, what we are doing now is making our logo light up on the front of buses because it sounded cool and it was £100. Making gas-powered double decks. We have, again, a lower deck on this bus as well, as came free with it. And you can just about see the back row of seat stops there because gas tanks are all in that area of the bus, which gives us enough range to carry on all day. On the single decks, all of our single decks now run on gas, and the single decks, the gas is on the roof. But we can't put it on the roof of double decks, it won't go under bridges. So those are the first gas double decks in the world, apart from the demonstrator vehicle, which we hadn't seen when we placed an order, which made me swallow rather hard. But £260,000 buys you some of those. I was going to say something else about them, and I can't remember what now. We'll come back to that. In terms of wider innovation, though, we've got a number of problems to solve from an engineering point of view, but also in terms of customer growth. We've 31 hybrid buses which have been a disaster commercially. They're now 5 years old, they're coming out of their warranty period, and the average cost in that warranty period has been between £70,000 and £80,000 a bus. The battery packs don't last, the motors are rather fragile, the generators not brilliant either, the power controller also an issue, cooling pumps, high voltage circuits, low voltage circuits, CAN links. Other than that, they're brilliant. And we've blown some engines up. Apart from that, yeah, hybrid buses not such a success. We're still running them, they still go. They break down slightly more than the rest of the fleet, which is not a measure to anything to be proud of. When they do break down, they take much longer to fix. Because I need to call somebody who has 600-volt fingers to take them apart, put them back together, and charge me lots of money. Now they're coming out of their warranty period, he's going to charge me even more money because all the bits I have to pay for as well. Or I can extend the warranty for just £50,000 for 5 years, which is an awful lot of money to spend on a bus that you don't really like, at the end of which you have a 10-year-old bus without a warranty that's unreliable, etc., etc., etc. So we looked at different options of what we can do with those hybrid buses. We can hook all the hybrid kit out, put a diesel engine, a gearbox, and an angle drive in, and it's a diesel bus. But we're Reading buses, and that's not quite how we do it. So we spoke to a company who does retrofit hybrid for diesel buses, which in context of what I've just said doesn't sound like a massively attractive thing to do, but what they did offer is a whole life warranty on the unit, at which point I don't really care whether it's powered by Mince kittens. It can go together and drive up and down. They took one of our buses apart, then they found their kit didn't fit in it, and then they gave it back to us in bits. Well, brilliant, but it didn't cost us a great deal of money. We just had a bus that now is in bits. We were speaking to another company at the time and pursuing two options because I'm not stupid, and we looked at this, which we finally turned into, which is a battery-powered bus, but we're Reading, so that's not quite what we do. So battery-powered bus with an engine in it as a range extender, which chugs away doing about 10 horsepower. So it doesn't top the batteries up, but it slows down the rate at which they discharge. For reasons best known to them, they wrap the engine in Baco foil. The engine is a 750cc Kawasaki V-twin, which, because we're Reading, we run on compressed natural gas as well, because the conversion was fairly simple to do. And we've got compressed natural gas and we don't have petrol on site. We could have, but why would you bother? So that is definitely the first CNG hybrid double-deck bus. I'm absolutely convinced it's the world's smallest double-deck engine at 750 cc's, and it did its first day in service today. It didn't go all day, don't applaud yet. So around about 2:30 in the afternoon, I rang the driver up on the radio and said, "How you doing?" He said, "Yeah, really well, it drives beautifully." I said, "What's the battery on?" He said, 2%. So we ran that back in, parked it up, charged it back up again. The generator isn't giving full output. What I'm trying to say is the bus industry is far from polished. It appears to be giving about 2.5 horsepower average over the day when it should be giving about 10 horsepower. So the battery is 130 kilowatt hours, 10 horsepower is about 8 kilowatts. So you run that for 8 hours, you get another 80 kilowatt hours, which on top of 130 kilowatt hours of battery means that you then don't end up with an empty battery at the end of 10 hours, so you can then go a few more hours. Hopefully it'll do a whole day. This is the level of analysis and maths we have in the bus industry. We're also pretty good at breaking things. So we've got some little buses which have been converted to gas by an operator who then discovered they couldn't get planning permission for their gas filling station, so the buses suddenly ended up on the market cheap. Now, not many people run gas buses yet. Nottingham's bought a load because they want to win more awards than we do. Plymouth have got some because they got displaced from another site, etc., etc. Lincoln, no money for gas station. Who wants to buy some then 11-year-old, so buses last 15 years, so 11 is not particularly attractive. Who wants some reasonably old, approaching life expired minibuses with a gas engine that we don't really understand and nobody's got any fuel for? They rang me up, I said, no, I don't really want them. But we need to make 30 grand a bus back because that's what they owe us. I don't really need them. How about 10? Oh, I don't really need them. 5? No, I don't really need them. They came to us at a very good price, which meant that I had enough in the bank to go and do a refurb on them, so they've got wood floors and nice seats inside them, and they're not unpleasant to look at, unlike what Stagecoach were running. Part of that is because they're converted, they're not necessarily exactly as the factory intended, and the starter motor doesn't engage. No, it engages too far and ends up rubbing on the inside of the flywheel. So we need a spacer. It's very technical, this. So I rang up Cummins, who said, yes, we have a spacer in stock. We can do those for you, sir. They're £130, and it's a 9-week lead time. Right, okay, better order one of them then. Yes, please. Can you sell me the CAD file? They sent me the CAD file, and with the 3D printing bureau, which was in Caversham and is now in Woodley, we printed out the black spacer over there and fitted it to the bus, and discovered that the Cummins CAD file was wrong. It was too thick, and so the part I just ordered on a 9-week lead time wasn't going to work when it turned up. So I spoke to Cummins, did a bit of tweaking, shrunk the CAD file, and also wrote our name in it. Printed another one out, 24-hour turnaround, fitted it, brilliant. That ran for 8 weeks, by which time the correct part had turned up. Now, without the 3D printing, without the innovation bit of it, I'd have waited 8 or 9 weeks for the wrong bit, and then another 8 or 9 weeks for the right bit. So 3D printing, in this instance, has allowed me to make mistakes much more quickly, which is important. That's part of innovation. You get stuff wrong, you try a new thing. You get stuff wrong, you try a new thing. Oh, that works. Then you forget about that, go and break something else. And the ability to move more quickly is drawing us ahead of the rest of the bus industry. We're doing some work at the moment to print this front panel on the bus is in fiberglass. We're doing some work with one of the Reading Hack guys to produce a large 3D printer to print in fiberglass. I don't know if it'll work yet, but let's start innovating and let's start moving in that direction, trying to break stuff more quickly. Hey, look at that. So these lovely gentlemen sat on a sofa on one of our buses, which we did on a refurbishment. While we're refurbishing some buses, let's try some new things, because it's a good time to do something low risk, and if I end up scrapping the vehicle, it might not be the end of the world. So we refurbed an old vehicle, and it's got shiny stairs in it and wood flooring and everything else, and wireless charging that you can't really see because I've hidden it with a picture. In PowerPoint, this comes up one by one. It looks really good. And I managed to snap the 2 hairy bikers on our sofa as well, who are at pains to point out they do not endorse this product. They just sat there, smiled, and I took a photo. But they look like they're enjoying it. Ideas like this in terms of social seating they came out of the university buses. It's probably not appropriate for every seat to be a sofa, because you don't necessarily want to hug your neighbour. But for small groups of people, when you get on a bus with your kids who want to go upstairs and sit at the front and drive, or when you're sitting in a group and you do want to be sociable, you don't want to be sitting in a Victorian schoolroom and then craning over behind you to work out what's going on. Similarly, in terms of the vehicle refurbs, we don't refurbish them with black sparkly floors that make it look like a hospital, or furry seats that make it feel like an old people's home. We're trying to draw more people in. So that's the new buses we've put into Woodley, which have a sofa, which have got some hopefully fairly attractive looking seats. We've done a lot to clean up the lines in the bus. There's no hand poles upstairs in these buses, and it makes the whole thing feel much more open, much more spacious. And again, this is a brand new bus, but working with that manufacturer who actually get and understand what we're trying to do, we've brought the orange branding of the bus inside, so we've got oranges on the table, we've got oranges on the sofa, we've got orange lines on the seats. They said, oh, we can do an orange line in the ceiling if you want. Yeah, go on, I'll have that. One of their salesmen looked a little bit nervous as he showed us this one, because they'd already done the first bus, but where the 2 colours of floor meet, there's an orange line in the floor as well, like a pinstripe. You can't go too much colour, because it starts to overwhelm it, but in terms of just a little bit of colour in selected places, and it makes it feel like an actual design rather than, we've made a box, we've filled it with Formica and we've stuck seats in it, what more do you want? We're really pushing to make it feel a little bit more like a designed product. The next thing I'm trying to work on is soft touch surfaces, because there is no surface quality in that vehicle that you would accept or anywhere near accept in a £10,000 car, never mind a £250,000 bus as we ought to. Hello. Yes, we have a tame graphic designer. When I approach him carefully, he has a nasty habit of wearing lame shorts or leopard print. He's a big lover of leopard print. So he picks the colour schemes. He has this natural ability that engineers completely lack to put 2 colours together and know whether they'll work or not. It's also really interesting. I'm going to go back the other way now. When you see that blue bus, without the stickers, so that bus is painted in 2 colours, and the rest of it is all stickers. And you see the two colours, and whether it's a blue one or a green one or a yellow one, you stand back and go, yeah, he's fucked it up this time. It always seems to come out the bag, but no, that doesn't work. And then you smother it in stickers and you go, bastard. They're on the sidewalls, so keen observers will note there is a hand pole in view. So for all of these seats are served by that button there, and the others are there, but on the sidewall further back. It's very interesting talking to different manufacturers as well, one of whom said it's impossible to take all the hand poles out of a bus, it's illegal. One who said, well, we'd need to put the buttons on the sidewall, and that was the end of the discussion. Okay, we'd buy some buses off you, please. Unfortunately, the other guys are the only guys who make the gas double deck. At the moment. So these guys are looking at taking all the hand poles out and making them cool, and these guys are talking about putting a gas engine in the back and putting some gas tanks in it, which is really important for me to have both, because if only these guys can do it, they'll charge me whatever they like. I've got to have a market and a bit of competition, otherwise you want gas, it's 400 grand. Buy it or don't. And I am committed to gas because I've spent a lot of money on a gas station, but on the other hand, I can't afford to pay £1 million for each bus, which is the price of a hydrogen bus, by the way. So we've got a cool-looking bus with gas on it. That one's got 2 wheelchair spaces in it as well, which people seem to love. It's a nice big area as well. If you have to, you've got a dance floor. And the other one has got lots of shiny bits on it and glittery bits and 2 destinations on the front and lots of other stuff. So we're finished. But I think there might be more to come. So what's next in terms of bus journeys? We've done some futurizing, horizon scanning. There's lots of bullshit terms for thinking about what might happen next. And the conclusion is we don't know, which is good, but that means if we start to create stuff, that is what's happening next. I don't know how we're going to do all of this stuff, but it makes sense that we would want to personalize your experience in the same way that Tesco do. So it's quite easy, since we know when you register your smart card, we know who you are, where you live, when you travel, and what your date of birth is, that when you get on board, you're greeted by name, because the driver is human. He's got a screen in front of him, which is connected to the real world through the internet. Hello. What about the people that don't want to give you that information? You could put false information in, and when I call you Davy McDave face as you get on the bus, we both have a quiet smile, and then you go and sit down. It doesn't have to be accurate. You can type whatever you like into a website. Who registered for this event with their real address, real email address? Yeah, okay. Okay. This red arrow here, this straight arrow, is a really interesting question. How do we get people to a bus stop? Because if I walk outside, I mean, I work for the company. I've worked for the company 3 years, and I don't know where all the buses go from in town. I can figure it out, but it might take me a bit of walking around. We have an app. The app is good now. It was terrible. But we've done some more work, and now it's better. Fail once, fail faster, do more. The app will tell you where to go and get on your bus, but it's still not perfect. Is there a virtual reality goggles version coming? Is there an augmented reality? Is there just a simple thing that goes this way, this way, this way, this way, this stop? There's lots more we can do for that bit, and that's important because that is your hygiene factor of why people do and don't get on a bus. Could we, once we know who you are, what your birthday is, etc., if we know you get on the same stop every day, there's no good reason, if I do this, I can actually reach it. There's no good reason that's a legal requirement, that's a legal requirement, that could say happy birthday, that could say tweet your message here, swear filter applied. There's lots of stuff we could do. We've got the connectivity, we just need to get on with it. Once you're on the bus, let's make it moderately pleasant to sit in. So the reason people will drive and sit in congestion is they've got their own space, leather seats, invariably leather door card, leather dashboard, their own radio, it's nice high quality sound, it's your own space, it's yours. It's not moving particularly quickly, and you'll be 10 minutes late because you're sitting in traffic, but people are very stubborn. We've learned that, if nothing else, from cities. So let's try and put that same feeling into a bus. We will buy a bus based on the number of seats it has, and more is clearly better. Can you imagine going into a Tesco superstore where the aisle is the requisite minimum 700 millimetres wide, which is just about wide enough to get a wheelchair down, and you meet somebody coming the other way, and you've either got to do this really awkward dance as you get round them, or if they've got a trolley, you're knackered. Supermarkets don't do that. The aisles are large, so that you can actually go in and not feel like you're being oppressed by towering aisles of produce. Why don't we put a bit more space in the seats? And we do. If you get on our buses, we go for a seat pitch, which I describe in the spec as generous, which invariably means take one row out and respace them all. And that means that you're not crammed with your knees against the seat in front, I hope, unless it's a bus we've bought from somebody else second hand, at which point I'm sorry. 2+1 seating works very well for one of our competitors in North Yorkshire. They have a double deck with 2+1 throughout the whole upstairs. It's a route that could survive with a single deck bus, but they choose to put double decks on and give large, comfy coach seat armchair things where you can sit in and actually you sit in comfort, but then you're going for a reasonable distance between Harrogate and York. We've got, you can read all the stuff that's on it, mood lighting, entertainment, streaming on board, and wireless charging. Claret Spritzer, the university bus, is the first buses to have wireless charging on them. Went down really well. We also discovered that the wireless charger's got a micro USB in it, and that's what people are really interested in. I can't find a way yet to make them robust enough to charge people's phones. So they always end up damaged within about 2 weeks. But actually, if they're £1 a piece off eBay, and that's buying them individually, is that just an acceptable cost of business? I mean, the seat cushion's £35, and we had 6 of those slashed last night. It's not disproportionate cost to provide what people are expecting. Yeah, more words. Guided driving. At the moment, we have the best score in the country for closeness to the curb, which means that we've got lots of skirt panels, corner bumpers, ramps, doors, wheels, tyres, that have been dragged along curbs, and it makes the vehicles look shabby. If you look at the near side of any of my purple vehicles, there's a 50-50 chance that the skirt panels are folded underneath slightly because they've been dragged along the curb at the 3 Tons pub out that end. I know where the problem is, I know where the pothole is, I can't get anyone to fill it in. Why doesn't the bus drive itself? If I pay an extra £800 when I buy a brand new Ford Fiesta, it'll park itself. You take the hands off the steering wheel, it does some magic and parallel parks for you perfectly. I'm paying £250,000 for a bus. And we do bus stops an awful lot more than you park a Fiesta. Equally, driving backwards, with a 12-metre bus, we put the driver 12 metres away from what he's about to reverse into. We face him in the opposite direction, and we give him a convex perspex mirror, and then we're surprised when, occasionally, we back into things. Why doesn't he go and stand behind, and then press a button and just manoeuvre the bus until it is where he wants it, and then let go and it'll stop? None of this is hard. You can buy that on a Range Rover. Connected networks, we already do some of this, so the bus talks to the bus stop, the bus talks to the traffic lights. Doesn't talk to other vehicles yet, but I'm sure it will. The buses do talk to each other, though, and we can keep them spaced out. If you're getting too close to the vehicle in front, it can tell the driver to slow down. If he's getting ahead of his timetable or behind his timetable, it can tell him to adjust his behaviour accordingly. Although, in truth, when this guy is being told you're 3 minutes late, there's nothing he can do, because he's about to turn left and sit in a queue of cars. But it's information. Whether we can turn that information into action is the real question. Digitised maintenance. Our lovely graphic designer friend may have gone a little bit mental here. So this we do today. This we are developing and can do today. This not so much. But actually, is it that crazy? If we have an incident somewhere and we need CCTV live, if we had a drone in 1 on 10 vehicles and just popped up in the air and it hovered above what we wanted to look at, we'd have live footage of what's going on below us. Our network is 35 miles across, but with 1 in 10 vehicles fitted, we'd probably be about 3 flying minutes away from anywhere that we need eyes. It's illegal at the moment, but I suspect that will change. And that's before you start lifting bus parts. I'm not sure what size drone would be needed to lift a bus brake caliper, because I can't lift one. I think we're probably talking about something made by Boeing. But the options are there, and simply because nobody's done it yet doesn't mean it can't be done. The most important thing we will innovate with, and the only thing that will definitely happen, is we will continue to be working with people and partnerships. We work with suppliers, all of whom are human beings, and they're nice human beings, which means that today, for example, I've had a meeting with a guy who I've worked with for a long time but don't buy anything from at the moment. He sells Bridgestone tyres, and he puts them on the rail air coaches that we maintain but don't own. First Group own them, who are another bus operator, but we do maintenance because they haven't got a depot in Reading, so they pay us, and it works very well for both of us. Bridgestone want to do the tyres on these, and I buy all my tyres from Michelin because they're a solid, reputable brand, as are Bridgestone, but Michelin were cheaper. Bridgestone don't really want to put tyres on 10 coaches because it's a bit of a pain. But they know each other, they know me, so we have a conversation and say, well, why don't you pay him to put his tyres on your bus, or why don't you rent his machine off him when you want to change a tyre? Because the suggestion was, you can't use that machine because it belongs to them, so you're going to sit in the shadow of the tyre changing machine with 2 lever bars and try and change a tyre that's nearly 3 feet across, 4 feet across. It doesn't seem to make sense. But simple conversation with human beings, and they said, well, this is stupid, why don't we just do a risk assessment, you can use our machine. Or we can charge you to do it, and we'll do it at a sensible commercial rate. There's lots of options, and by working with people, that's how you get that answer, regardless of any technology that's sitting there. The technology to say happy birthday only really has an impact when it turns into somebody saying happy birthday. That's when you really get that eye-to-eye impact. That won't go away. So an example of some technology we're working on with a company called ECH Engineering, who are obviously a refrigeration company. I want to know who's sitting in which seats and when. There are systems available, so I have to press that button first. This works. This is being trialled by Transport for London, and this tells you how many seats there are upstairs, but it works on cameras and image recognition to work out who's sitting there, which means that the cameras aren't terribly reliable, and if you stand in the way, the whole thing stops working. What I would like to do is generate something like that, and we're working on a sensor which goes into a seat, and I'm not telling you how it works, which spits out a 1 or a 0 to the internet. At which point we can feed it into a mobile phone app, we can feed it into a bus stop to say 3 seats available upstairs. If we can tell whether the wheelchair space is occupied, there's money in that. There are seat sensors that you can buy which work on various different ways. The cheapest I found them for is about 11 quid a seat. We think we can do it between £2 and £3 a seat, which changes the world. At £10 a seat, I have 10,000 seats in my fleet. I can't afford to spend that kind of money. But at £2 or £3 a seat, actually, 6 buses on the Woodley routes, 5 buses on the Royal Blue routes, 15 buses on the Purple routes, one by one, I can be buying them in 70 or 80 and fitting routes at a time, and starting to deliver real information for the customer and business intelligence for me. It's possible, for example, that if people haven't told me who they are, but every time I see a smart card, the front right seat upstairs is occupied, there's a good chance they're able to climb the stairs, and you could work out how long it takes them to do that. They want to sit at the front and pretend they're driving, they're probably male and in their early 20s. If they always go and sit downstairs immediately behind the wheelchair space, they're not able to climb the stairs, or they don't want to. They're only going a short journey. We could do stuff to pretty much work out who they are anyway. The bit of link I'm missing is then to work out how much disposable income they've got and what else I can sell them while they're on board. But the magic, and this isn't going to work, but the idea being that as people go along, the buses change and the red and green changes, but you can't really tell what's going on because the slides are moving up and down. This is an interesting question, though, which is what happens when this is the case. Nobody wants to sit at the ghetto at the back, because that's where all the naughty boys sit, and that's where all the graffiti and vandalism happens. If you know that as the bus comes towards you, you can choose to sit downstairs. If you know that as the bus comes towards you and it's only 2 minutes till the next bus, let this one go by, I'll get on the one behind. I'm not in a hurry and I don't want to sit in the ghetto. This is all information which actually makes it less uncomfortable for people to ride on a bus. And all that means that they're going to walk past their car keys on the way out of the house. So I've got a sales pitch as well, which I need another slide for, and I have no idea how to work an Apple Mac. I click on stuff down here, and come on, Simon, give us a hand. One of these has got the other thingy I was looking at, which is before this slide, which is the surprise that I may have now spoiled. Go on, click on things and make me look cleverer. Okay, it was behind it. Cheers. So this isn't going to work, and did work much better. Ooh, that's not bad, actually. So this appears box by box so that I don't overwhelm you with all this information all at once, which is possibly lost. There's lots of information in our buses and coming in and out of our buses, and real-time passenger information, live and with GPS, ticketer, live on the internet with GPS, telematics, live on the internet with GPS, CCTV, GPS not live on the internet, can be quite expensive on data. Customer Wi-Fi, it's live on the internet. It has GPS. There's 2 4G SIM cards in that. There's 1 in the ticketer. There's 2 in that one. There's 1 in that one. There's lots of information coming in and out of our buses. And that's before you get to the off-bus stuff, the fueling information, the fleet management with all the bits we fitted to them, the were we running early or late. If we know that where the bus is, that's easy. Working out where it should be is the harder bit, and then doing the comparison to see if it's running early or late, and then what we do about it. And we do lots of navel gazing and back office reporting on why we ran late. We also do quite a lot of interacting to say, we'll turn this bus, we'll put an extra bus in, we'll provide a service which costs us more money but actually runs reliably and people choose to get on it. There is much, much more we can get out of this, and the question then is, what's next? Do people use the USB chargers on our buses? What other information can we get out of it? I'm pretty sure with the 2 pins for power and ground in there that charges your phone up, fairly sure the other 2 do stuff, and working out who's using it would be interesting. How often do they come back? What anonymous data can I get out of it? What active data can I get out of it? What are the morals of that question? Or do I? I don't know.
I think you do.
I am a mechanical engineer. I should have said that at the very beginning. But yeah, the connectivity is there, and there is much, much more than we currently use. The question is, how do we use that for our benefit, which hopefully is working out where people start off and where they want to go, not where I take them to, but where they want to go, and then provide that better. So I said at the beginning we charge about £2 for a journey. To go from here to the Majeski Stadium is about 15 quid in a taxi. It's about 8 quid on Uber. So you put 4 people in an Uber car, and it's bus money. And they take you from where you are to where you want to go, not from the flag at the end of the street in the rain down to a place which may or may not be nearer to where you want to go. And that's a very, very scary thought, actually, that suddenly we could fill Reading with Uber cars doing pretty much what we do at about the same price, particularly if they come up with a driverless vehicle. And that's a very, very scary thought. We need to make this much sexier, and we need to make it much sexier much more quickly. I now want to go back to my other slide. No, I don't. I can just do that. So we've put together an innovation centre, which has more than just me and the CPT president looking at each other with a piece of orange fiberglass. So we've got some hot desks in here. We've got a sofa bed. We've got the important bits of a bus journey, the bus stop, the bus arriving, and the inside of the bus. And what I'm doing is asking for partners. So we're not looking for IP. We're not looking for any equity in your company, and we're not looking for ideas. I want people to have an idea based on the opportunity that the bus industry can only present. Come and work within our office, partner with us for 6 months. You can have the space for free, internet, heat, light, 24-hour access. You can have access to our office, workshop, our labs, which is electronics lab, and our fabrication lab. We've got some fairly large stuff for doing sheet metal work. And a fleet of buses. You can get on buses, you can cut holes in buses if you so choose. I'd like to know what you're cutting a hole into and roughly what might be behind it. But by partnerships and by working together, what can we do? What is out there to be achieved, and what benefits does it give to either to myself or to the travelling public? Through an NDA, we are willing to give access to all of our operating data. There's an API, and we have an open data service you can register for and download where our buses are at any given point, and that's all very exciting. We're willing to put all of our data in front of developers if they want it, and if they can show us what they're going to do with it, and if they promise not to tell everybody else, including our competitors, because there is some commercially sensitive stuff there. But through that intelligence, we can turn it around and say, actually, this is a useful way of doing things. And by sharing our vehicle location data, if you download our Reading Buses app, you can only see live bus times to see when the bus is coming. You can see where the bus is, which actually doesn't seem like that much of a leap, really. It's hardly commercially sensitive. They're quite big things. If you go outside and walk around, you'll spot some. But you can see where they are on a map in your hand, and that way, when it says 2 minutes and you can see it's not changed for 2 minutes despite saying the bus will be here in 2 minutes, you can see a blob and it's sitting and it's stopped. It's probably because the bus isn't moving. There's nothing more sophisticated in the predictions than that. So I hope that will be developing products, services, apps, taking ideas and turning them into real things. We've got a tree branch strike detector at the moment in prototype, which is fundamentally a microphone inside a tree bar. So when we smack into a tree, it goes ping and registers where you are, how fast you're going. But when you get 10 in the same place, there's probably a tree branch there. When you get 10 in the same place, let's go and cut the tree branch down before it becomes a tree trunk, and then we start smashing windscreens. We spent 15 grand last year on windscreens. There's a lot of money to be made and saved from products like that. And I don't want anything more than to be the early adopter and the trial base for the next big thing. I would hope that whoever it is who makes their fortune out of this will then remember us and give us a 10% discount, but the essence is strong that I would like to be doing the next thing, and candidly, I don't know what it is. That is pretty much everything I was going to say, apart from thank you. Are there any questions?